The stench of cheap charcoal and stale chicken thighs, 2 days from expiring, was a cruel, ironic counterpoint to the lie that unraveled before my eyes. I was standing over a flimsy grill in my apartment courtyard, alone, yet surrounded by the ghost of a sacred tradition. Every 4th of July, like a clockwork ritual, our family, the Coles, gathered. It was never elegant, just mountains of ribs, a reckless display of fireworks, stories spun wild with laughter, and that specific brand of chaotic joy only a large, boisterous family can create. But this year, the pretense was thin. Too broke for prep and travel. My mother's text had read, "Just laying low this summer." My father, ever the echo, added, "Even your sister, Lysandra, said, 'Girl, nobody has the energy. Let's skip it this year.'" So I, Alara, did what I always did. I adjusted. I adapted. I didn't make a fuss. I picked up a $6 tray of discount meat, threw some frozen corn on the side, and grilled by myself like a fool under the fading afternoon sun. I even played some old R&B, trying to conjure a phantom vibe in the hollow echo of my own silence. I didn't blame them.
Not yet.
Not until my phone buzzed. A notification from Lysandra's Instagram. Party Popper Barbecue Bash 2K24. Family only. Live stream. My thumb hesitated, then tapped, hoping it was an old clip, a memory from a kinder year. It wasn't. The screen blazed with colored lights. A DJ booth, erected in my parents' backyard, pulsed with bass. Long tables, adorned with crisp red and white checkered cloths, stretched into the distance. Children, my nieces and nephews, chased each other with sparklers. Wine glasses clinked like tiny bells of celebration. Laughter, so loud and unburdened, vibrated through the cheap plastic of my phone, echoing in my chest like a hollow drum. Everyone was there. My cousins, Aunt Lyra, Uncle Finn, the same uncle I'd once cut ties with because he disrespected my family and I'd chosen them over him. There he was, holding out a plate for my mother to heap with ribs. And me? Nowhere. No invite. No call. Not even a pity text. I stood there, a frozen tableau, spatula and anchor in my trembling hand, as the screen zoomed in on Lysandra, twerking beside the very grill I'd helped my father build with my tax refund 2 summers ago. A cold, hard knot tightened in my chest, a silent scream caught in my throat. But I said nothing. Not when the first fireworks exploded in a shower of color above their heads. Not when Lysandra panned the camera, her face alight with artificial joy, and screamed, "Best night ever with my favorite people." Not even when someone in the comments asked, "Where's Alara?" And she ignored it, as if the question and I had never existed. I turned the grill off, the chicken thighs sizzling faintly, then growing cold. I sank to the ground beside my tiny balcony, staring at that screen until the battery died, leaving me in the sudden, echoing dark. And for once, I didn't cry. This wasn't just a forgotten invite. This was a decision. They hadn't forgotten me.
They had excluded me.
This wasn't a crack in the foundation. It was a demolition. My name is Alara. And from wherever you're watching this, stay with me. Because if you've ever been the family's emotional ATM, the dependable daughter, the one who holds the rope while everyone climbs out, only to be left behind when the party starts, then you already know the burn I felt that night wasn't from the grill. It was betrayal, and it was about to light a fire in me they couldn't put out. They say family is forever, but in my case, it felt more like a subscription service, one that got canceled every time the perks ran out. I was the middle child, a curse rather than a blessing. Not Lysandra, the golden oldest, prom queen, pageant winner, professional social butterfly, whose face graced every family Facebook post. Not Kale, the adorable baby brother, football scholarship, man of the house type, whose accomplishments my dad boasted about to anyone who would listen. Me, Alara. I was the girl who kept receipts, who memorized bank statements, who didn't ask for much, and somehow still asked for too much. From as early as I can remember, I was the fixer. When Lysandra's tuition fell short by $2,000, who quietly wired it without being asked.
Me.
When Kale crashed his car and needed a down payment on another, I figured out a small loan plan that wouldn't break him. When Mom called, crying about the lights being cut off midwinter, I left work and paid the bill before the end of the day. They never said thank you. They said things like, "We knew you'd come through. That's why we love you. You're so reliable. You're the strong one, Alara." But strong was just code for "we'll dump everything on you because you don't complain loud enough to scare us away." I remember one Christmas, Lysandra didn't show up with a gift for Mom, and they laughed it off. I gave Mom a hand-knit sweater I'd spent weeks making, each stitch a silent testament of love. She looked at it, not with joy, but with discomfort, her gaze a lead weight. "Oh, you made this yourself?" As if my love had weight, and she didn't want to carry it. Even when I bought the family new phones during a rough year, it became Lysandra's accomplishment. She picked the colors, Mom had said. "No, I picked the colors," I'd corrected softly. Lysandra just smiled, said nothing, and I did what I always did. Stayed quiet. I told myself they just didn't know better. That one day they'd realize who I was, what I meant. I kept giving, thinking love was earned through sacrifice. But love, real love, doesn't make you beg for crumbs at a table you helped build. And that barbecue, that was the crucible.
They didn't forget me.
They didn't miscommunicate. They sat down and chose to plan joy without me. Yet, they still had the galling audacity to expect me to fund their grief when the lights dimmed again. They still believed I was on standby, the family's personal emergency fund with no face, no feelings, just Venmo and forgiveness. And the sickest part?
I used to accept it.
I wore that pain like armor.
But not anymore.
Because that night, staring at their curated smiles through a screen, I finally understood. They didn't need me emotionally. They only needed my credit card. And that means I wasn't their daughter. I was their bank.
But even banks close accounts.
I didn't sleep that night. I lay on my back in bed, my room lit only by the dying glow of my phone screen. The live stream was over, but Lysandra had posted clips, reels, stories, even a carousel of group shots titled, "Just Family Things Sparkles Red Heart." I watched every second of it like a crime scene investigator sifting through evidence. There was Mom, laughing with her favorite cousin, clutching a glass of sangria, the very one she'd told me she didn't have money to make this year. There was Dad at the grill, flipping steaks, swaying to old-school R&B, the same man who'd said it wouldn't be right to celebrate when we're behind on bills. There were even coordinated shirts. Cole Family Barbecue 2024. Custom, printed, planned. That takes time, effort, intent. You don't accidentally print shirts for a party you're too broke to throw. And that's what gutted me. It wasn't just the party. It was the lie beneath it. The coordination, the group texts I was never added to. The playlists I didn't help make. The recipes I wasn't asked to send, even though I was the one who always handled the damn potato salad. They moved without me, not around me, but without me. I'd spent years telling myself I was just overlooked, quiet, forgettable, that it was my fault for not being more involved, more vocal. But this time, I had asked. I offered to help. I even volunteered to host it at my place to save them the trouble. They said no. And then they partied like I didn't exist. What hurt the most wasn't the stream itself. It was a message I got while doom-scrolling through the comments. A DM from my cousin Chloe. "Didn't know you weren't coming." I asked Lysandra if you'd be late, and she just shrugged. Shrugged. As if I were a mere guest who canceled last minute. As if I hadn't been deliberately erased from the plan. I lied to Chloe, said I had work, but that lie sat in my throat like gravel. Because I was done covering for people who never once covered for me. I thought about every time I made excuses for them. They're just stressed.
They didn't mean it like that.
Maybe they forgot to add me to the invite. But forgetting is a mistake. This was a strategy. I sat there, watching a video of Lysandra popping a champagne bottle, shouting, "To chosen family." And something primal coiled in me. It wasn't rage. It was incandescent clarity. They weren't going to change. They weren't suddenly going to wake up and value me. They liked it this way. Because valuing me would mean acknowledging what they took. And people like them, they don't like facing the people they drained. They just liked texting them when the bills were due. I closed the app, turned off the lights, and stared into the dark. I wasn't just left out. I was finally done. The text came at 8:13 a.m. the next morning. I hadn't even made coffee yet. Dad, hey, sweetheart. Can you send over the $4,600 for the utility bills this month? We're really counting on you. No good morning. No apology. No explanation for the fireworks I watched explode over a house I used to call home. Just bold-faced entitlement, thinly veiled in false endearment. I stared at it for a full 2 minutes, my thumb hovering over the screen, heat building in my chest. Not the kind that makes you scream. The kind that makes you decide. $4,600. Not $20 for gas. Not a one-time emergency. A full-on expectation. And that's when it hit me. They didn't feel guilty about the party. They didn't feel guilty about lying to me because in their minds, they didn't do anything wrong. They saw me as a resource, not a daughter, not a sister, just a reliable little safety net who'd always say yes. I read the text again, slower. We're really counting on you. They weren't just asking. They were betting on me. They assumed I'd still come through, just like I always had, after every exclusion, every slight, every forgotten birthday or canceled plan. Because they thought love meant obligation. But I finally saw it for what it was. Emotional manipulation disguised as family duty. My hand trembled as I typed, not from fear, but from a tremor of righteous release, finally saying the thing I'd swallowed 100 times. Me, not anymore. No emoji, no explanation, just those 2 words. I hit send, sat back, and exhaled so hard my ribs ached. It didn't take long. The next text came 2 minutes later to, Dad, excuse me? Another. What does that mean? Then the group chat blew up. Mom, Alara, what's going on? Are you okay? Lysandra, can someone call her? She's being dramatic again. I ignored them. That afternoon, I did something I should have done years ago. I canceled every auto transfer from my account. The monthly help I sent to their household?
Gone.
The money I chipped in for birthdays, baby showers, emergency dental work? Closed for business. I opened a new savings account and renamed it. For me. Every penny they expected from me now went there. That evening, Lysandra posted an Instagram story. Some people forget where they came from. With a vague image of someone tearing up a check. I laughed, a bitter, hollow sound. Forget where I came from?
No.
I remembered too well. I just finally remembered who I was before they taught me I had to earn love with my wallet. Before I became their quiet sponsor. Before I learned that even your own family will build joy around you while pretending you're not standing in the cold outside. I was done begging for entry to a party I wasn't even invited to. Let them host barbecues. Let them send texts. Let them wonder why the ATM stopped spitting out affection. Because this time, I wasn't waiting for an apology. I was building a world where I didn't need one. It's funny how quickly people notice your absence when they can't benefit from your presence anymore. The first week after I sent not anymore, the group chat went quiet. I think they assumed I was just throwing a tantrum, that I'd cool off, cave in, and come crawling back like always. But I didn't. I didn't text back. I didn't answer calls. I didn't check Lysandra's stories. I let the silence grow. And like clockwork, the cracks started to show. On Thursday, my mom sent a voice note. Fake sweet, guilt-laced, a syrupy trap. Alara, honey, we're worried. You're being distant. We didn't mean to hurt you. Didn't mean to hurt me. They meant to exclude me. That part wasn't accidental. Then Dad followed up with his signature passive-aggressive barb. I just hope this new attitude of yours doesn't cost you the people who love you most. The people who love me? You mean the ones who threw a whole party and pretended I was dead? The ones who lied straight to my face and then expected $4,600 the next day?
Right.
So, I responded with the most brutal thing I've ever done. Nothing. No reply. No reaction. I changed the notification settings on my phone, so texts from Mom, Dad, and Lysandra didn't even light up my screen. But I made time for one person, my little brother, Silas. He's younger, quieter, and always stuck between being loyal and being afraid. He texted me, Are you okay? And for once, I told him the truth. Yeah, I'm actually more okay than I've ever been. Just finally drawing a line. He responded, I get it. That's all he said. But it was enough. The rest of the family, though, they didn't get it. Because for the first time in their lives, the Alara they knew, the helper, the giver, the fixer, was gone. And suddenly, they were flailing. Aunt Lyra messaged me about pitching in for Grandma's birthday gift. I didn't respond. Lysandra sent a screenshot of a GoFundMe she made for unexpected medical bills. I didn't click it. Mom called from a different number. I blocked it. And in the meantime, I booked myself a weekend getaway. Somewhere quiet, somewhere warm. I took the money I would have sent to them, and I paid for a massage, a silk robe, and a balcony view of the ocean. No one asked me if I was okay, so I stopped asking them if they were. I started journaling again. I bought new plants. I joined a book club that didn't include people who only remembered I existed when rent was due. And one night, as I ate takeout on my couch in peace, Lysandra posted this on her story. When you finally put yourself first, selfish people start calling you changed. The bitter irony nearly knocked the rice out of my mouth. They couldn't believe I'd stopped pouring into a family that treated me like a spout. Something you turn on when you're thirsty and shut off when you're full. But I wasn't a faucet anymore. I was a flood. And they were going to learn what it felt like to be left in the drought they created. The first real sign that they were struggling came through my email. A forwarded notice from the power company, addressed to my parents. Urgent. Second notice. Scheduled shut-off pending. It wasn't even sent to me directly. No. My dad just forwarded it with a single, galling line. This is what happens when you ignore your responsibilities. Responsibilities. I laughed out loud in public. I was sitting at a coffee shop, sipping a $7 lavender latte that I didn't feel guilty about for once. And this man, this father, was trying to shame me into feeling bad for no longer carrying his load. I deleted the email. 2 days later, Lysandra texted, You're making everything harder than it has to be. No, how are you? No, I'm sorry.
Just blame. Typical.
Then came the social media shift. For weeks, Lysandra had been posting party photos, beach selfies, and passive-aggressive captions about outgrowing people. But suddenly, her feed went dark. Instead, I got tagged in a post by someone else. It was a screenshot from a local gossip page, one of those messy Instagram accounts that expose everything. The headline, Cole family GoFundMe sparks backlash, sister of viral barbecue snubbed from fundraiser. Underneath were comments like, Wait, this is the same family that left her out of that barbecue, right? Didn't she used to pay their bills? LOL. Now they want her money? The audacity. Apparently, someone pieced the story together. People remembered that live stream. It had burned its way into the internet's memory. And now, the same people who cheered their party were dragging them for begging. Their GoFundMe raised $92. The goal was $10,000. Meanwhile, my inbox was filling with requests for interviews. People wanted to hear my side. Podcasts, local news. One reporter offered to fly out and do a video feature. I declined. My revenge wasn't going viral. It was living well. I posted one photo, just one. Me on a balcony in a silk robe, holding coffee, the ocean a serene canvas behind me. No caption. And yet somehow, it said everything. Lysandra texted me, You really think you're better than us now? I didn't respond. Mom tried next. You're embarrassing the family. To which I almost replied, You embarrassed yourselves. I just stopped cleaning up after it. But I didn't send it. Silence was better. Silence was louder. Then Silas messaged me one night. They're freaking out. Dad's blaming everyone. Mom keeps crying. Lysandra deleted Instagram. I asked, How are you holding up? He replied, Better now. I think I needed to see all this. I used to think you were just moody, but now I get it. You were exhausted. That was the moment I knew I'd made the right choice. I didn't want to destroy them. I just wanted to stop disappearing for them. Let them feel what it's like to live without me. Not because I wanted them to suffer, but because I wanted them to learn. Love isn't a transaction, and loyalty without respect is just self-betrayal. It was a Sunday, quiet, the kind of day made for healing. Soft sunlight spilled across clean floors, music low in the background. I had just made cinnamon tea and lit a new candle when the buzzer rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. When I looked through the peephole, my stomach didn't twist. It hardened. There they were. Mom, Dad, and Lysandra, all standing in the hallway of my apartment building, dressed like they were going to church, not storming the gates of the daughter they left out. Dad stepped forward and pressed the intercom again. "Alara, we need to talk." His voice was tired, rough around the edges. I picked up the receiver, but didn't buzz them in. Instead, I just said, "Now you remember where I live." There was a pause, then Mom's voice, soft like a blanket draped over a weapon. "We didn't mean to hurt you. Can we please come in?" I almost laughed.
Come in?
After they pretended I didn't exist on the one day that used to belong to all of us? After lying, excluding, and then expecting me to pay their bills? Lysandra tried next, her voice tight. "We didn't think it would turn into all this." Okay. It was supposed to be simple, a low-key thing. It got big. "We didn't mean to go behind your back."
Stop, I said.
The line went quiet. I could hear them shifting awkwardly, like kids waiting for a scolding. It was poetic. I took a deep breath and said what I had rehearsed in my mind for weeks, my voice calm, clear, a crescendo of quiet truth. "You needed me when you wanted food on the table, but I needed you on barbecue night, and you weren't there." Dad muttered something. I didn't care what. I kept going. "You celebrated behind my back. You lied to my face. And then, like always, you only came looking when something broke. We're your family," Mom snapped, a desperate edge in her voice. "No," I said, my voice unwavering. "You were. But family doesn't use silence as punishment and love as a transaction." Lysandra's voice trembled. "You're being dramatic." I smiled. There it was. The old poison in a new bottle. "No, Lysandra. This is called a boundary. You're just not used to seeing me with one." Dad knocked again. "Alara, come on. Let us in." And I said the most liberating words I've ever spoken. "No." Just that. No screaming, no crying, no open arms, no more justifying my pain to people who refused to feel it. I hung up the receiver and walked away. They stayed out there for another minute, maybe 5, but eventually I heard their footsteps retreat. Slow, heavy. I didn't look through the peephole again. I didn't need to. I already knew how they looked when they left. For the first time in my life, I wasn't standing at the door, hoping they'd return. I was standing behind the door, relieved that they were finally on the other side of it. And for the first time ever, that door was closed for me. It's strange how quiet life becomes when you stop bleeding for people who never brought you bandages. Weeks passed after they showed up at my door. No more calls, no more guilt texts, no more GoFundMe links. The silence didn't scare me anymore.
It healed me.
I filled that quiet with things that made me feel alive. I started taking yoga on Wednesdays. Started writing again. Not in a journal hidden in shame, but in a blog where strangers left kind comments. I laughed out loud at movies, not worried about someone needing a Cash App link mid-punchline. I bought art, booked a solo trip to Lisbon. I spent the $4,600 they asked for on me, on things that made me feel. And for once, I didn't feel guilty about it. I didn't check their social media. I didn't block them out of spite. I just moved them to a part of my life that didn't get front row seats anymore. That's the thing they don't tell you about healing. Sometimes it's not about revenge. Sometimes it's just about finally spending your life on yourself. One Saturday, I volunteered at a local food drive in the neighborhood where I grew up. It used to be something our family did together. But this time I went alone, and I brought more than just donations. I brought experience. I created a small fund for single women struggling with toxic families. Quiet grants, no red tape, just support. I called it the Forgiven Line, not because I forgave them, but because I forgave myself for staying too long. And as I handed a grocery bag to a woman with tired eyes, she smiled and whispered, "It means a lot when someone shows up." Thank you. That's when it hit me. I had spent so many years showing up for people who only opened the door when they wanted something. Now I was showing up for people who were grateful I knocked. That night, I sat in my living room, candles lit, feet up, scrolling through photos of Lisbon apartments, just dreaming.
And a text came in.
Not from Mom, not from Dad, not from Lysandra. From Silas. I'm proud of you, Ilara. You made it out. And I cried. Because I had. I had made it out of the trap of being the reliable one. Out of the house where love came with terms and loyalty had expiration dates. Out of the insidious lie that said to be good, you must give until there's nothing left. Not anymore. Now I gave with full hands and a full heart to people who never asked for more than I could give. People who saw me, not just my wallet. And the final message I ever sent to my parents came weeks later, after a brief letter arrived asking if we could have a mature conversation and put the past behind us. I replied, "The past made me strong. The present makes me free. I don't hate you. I'm just not coming back." That was it. No drama, no revenge fantasy, just peace. Priceless, untouchable peace. They taught me how to give everything until I finally gave to myself.